and how it looked like during the reign of Mehmed V, right before the Balkan Wars. This is a documentary. I'll advise people to look at it. It's really good, specifically for the fact that it uses historical footage, and it does give us that really good insight. Can we put the volume off? I guess.
Είναι η περίοδος ανάμεσα στο 1904 και 1908 που αποκαλούμε Μακεδονικός αγώνας. Ο Μακεδονικός αγώνας ήταν μια σύγκρουση ανταρτικών ομάδων βουλγαρικών και ελληνικών με σκοπό να πιεστούν τα μακεδονικά χωριά να δηλώσουν υπέρ της μίας ή της άλλης εθνικής πλευράς.
Nevertheless, when they're asked, well, are you Greek or are you Bulgarian, many of them, it's a meaningless question. But of course, by 1914, it will not be a meaningless question because their life or death could depend on it.
Over the next decade, their lives would radically change. Macedonia was to become the battlefield of a bloody conflict waged between the armies of the new nation-states of the Balkans. One of the most significant records of life during the Ottoman Empire is this film of Sultan Mehmed V's visit to the cities of Thessaloniki and Monastir in 1911. The Manaka brothers filmed this remarkable procession, capturing the end of an era. These are among the last moving pictures of the Balkans taken before the breakup of the empire.
Στη Θεσσαλονίκη οργανώθηκε μια μεγαλοπρεπής υποδοχή του Σουλτάνου από όλες τις κοινότητες, τους εκπροσώπους των διαφόρων κοινοτήτων. Η εβραϊκή κοινότητα της Θεσσαλονίκης επίσης κατασκεύασε μια μεγαλοπρεπή αψίδα και σχολεία, σύλλογοι, εκπρόσωποι των διαφορετικών κοινοτήτων παρέλασαν στους δρόμους της Θεσσαλονίκης για την υποδοχή του Σουλτάνου.
In the period leading up to the Balkan Wars, Thessaloniki knew what was in some ways a period of its greatest prosperity. And at the same time, the city is a place where Greek nationalists, Bulgarian nationalists and others are also scheming or dreaming of dismemberment of European Turkey and incorporation in their nation state. So underneath the surface, there's enormous dissension about what the city's future should be.
In the period leading to the Balkan Wars, photographers and cameramen filmed an endless stream of military exercises in the region. The new Balkan states dreamt of territorial expansion, of conquering lands they claimed to be their own, but which were beyond their borders.
Όλοι λοιπόν οι βαλκανικοί εθνικισμοί έχουν το στοιχείο του αληθρωτισμού. Δηλαδή υπάρχει η Μεγάλη Σλοβία, η Μεγάλη Βουλγαρία, η Μεγάλη Ιδέα, θεωρείται ισχυρό κράτος το μεγάλο κράτος. Κανείς δεν διεκδικεί ένα περιορισμένο εδαφικά κράτος.
Everybody is obsessed with land. And that's true of everybody. That's true of imperial power. Everybody has this idea that more land is better and less land is a problem.
Κανείς δεν πίστευε ότι θα μπορούσε να γίνει με διπλωματικά μέσα η μοιρασιά της Οθωμανικής Αυτοκρατορίας. Ήταν προφανές ότι αυτές οι διαφορές μόνο με πόλεμο μπορούσαν να λυθούν.
So, the Balkan Wars, which lasted from October 1912 to August 1913, forever changed the Balkans. The imperial ambitions of Italy, Russia, and Britain in the region convinced Greece, Bulgaria, and Serbia that they needed to work together. A series of treaties created an alliance system called the Balkan League. And this was between Bulgaria, Serbia, Greece, and Montenegro. You can see on the right-hand side in the first image, and then on the second image, these are basically the soldiers of each one of these countries. Bulgaria and Serbia agreed to divide North Macedonia, while South Macedonia was to be decided between Greece and Bulgaria. When the war broke out, each army was expected to grab what they could as they defeated the Ottoman armies. By the end of the war, the Ottoman Empire lost Macedonia and Thrace, but left vital issues amongst the Balkan League unresolved. The Treaty of London in 1913, which officially ended Ottoman rule in Europe, also revealed a rift between Serbia and Greece and Bulgaria. The treaty gave significant territory gains to Bulgaria and established a small independent Albanian state. Tensions rose when Greece and Serbia signed an agreement to redraw the map of Macedonia. In response, Bulgaria attacked Serbia and triggered the Second Balkan War. Greece and Romania attacked Bulgaria from the north and the south, Serbia from the west, and the Ottoman Empire from the east. The war did not last long, and Bulgaria capitulated. The Second Balkan War redrew the map of Macedonia, with Bulgaria losing significant territory to Serbia, Greece, and the Ottoman Empire. The end of the Balkan War brought a sense of national optimism in Greece, but this was short-lived. With a matter of months after its great triumph, the region would be brought into a crisis once more with the First World War. After the First World War, Serbian sacrifices and military strength allowed them to convene Croat and Slovene representatives in Belgrade in 1918 to proclaim a kingdom of Serbs, Croats, and Slovenes. A couple of years before, in the municipal theater of Corfu, which we see in the center, Slovene, Serb, and Croat exiled representatives signed the Corfu Declaration, which settled the terms for the formation of a new state of Yugoslavia. As nearby empires were weakened as a result of the First World War, the Pact of Corfu intended to create a unified state of Serbs, Croats, and Slovenes, primarily led by Serbian rulers. The agreement would be modified, and the unified nations would later become known as Yugoslavia. The post-war disintegration of Austria-Hungary, and again Italy's territorial claims, provided the impetus for Croat and Slovene leaders to come to Belgrade on Serbian terms. Croats and Slovene representatives also believed that a single Yugoslav state could help facilitate better settlement terms in post-war peace negotiations. At the Paris Peace Conference, Serbia's representatives refused to acknowledge the existence of a non-Serbian majority in the Vardar region, which is where the state, or Fyrom, is today. And Serbia administered Vardar as a South Serbian province, imposing strict centralist practices in the area. So now we're getting into some communist history, which can get a little bit complicated, as you can tell by these charts that I've tried to make here. But in response to these centralist practices of the Serbian state, Macedonian nationalists in Vardar turned to Bolshevik communist ideology through the Balkan Communist Federation, or the BCF, in 1920. The communists increasingly supported Macedonian nationalist movements in an attempt to break away parts of the new kingdom and destroy the royal regime. Vardar was a promising ground for the Communist Party of Yugoslavia. For instance, in the 1920 Constituent Assembly election, a quarter of the votes came from there. But many of the Slav populations abstained because of a boycott organized by the Internal Macedonian Revolutionary Organization. The IMRO leaders all agreed to oppose Serbian rule, but otherwise were divided between federalists who advocated for an autonomous Macedonia as a separate nationality in Yugoslavia or Bulgaria, and the supremacists, who saw their mission as uniting Bulgaria's Macedonian tribes with the Bulgarian nation. While the Communist Party of Yugoslavia failed to recognize a separate Macedonian nationality in 1920, internal feuds festered between the federalists and the supremacists. The Macedonian question was made an area of focus for Soviet interests in the Balkans during the Third Communist International in 1921, which was to the detriment of both Yugoslavian and Greek Communist parties. At the Communist International, the Balkan Communist Federation was founded with the goal of serving the Soviet interests in the Balkans. The Bulgarian Communist Party was the most organized in the region at this point, and therefore it dominated over other organizations to advance its goals of a united Macedonia under the auspices of the Balkan Communist Federation. It was not until the 5th Congress of the Balkan Communist Federation in 1923 that voted for an autonomous and independent Macedonia, with both the communist parties of Yugoslavia and Greece accepting it into their platforms. For the Greek Communist Party, the KKE, this move was political suicide in Greece. And the party did not gain real legitimacy until the Second World War. For Greeks, the national losses in the Asia Minor catastrophe, which was still fresh in their minds, saw the KKE's decision to support an autonomous Macedonia akin to treason. The Internal Macedonian Revolutionary Organization United, what we can see on the bottom, or the IMRO United, or UIMRO, was the first Macedonian nationalist organization. In the aftermath of the First World War and Bulgaria's defeat, Bulgarian nationalists reformed the IMRO to pursue irredentist objectives. However, the IMRO experienced an internal schism as some members began to break ties with Bulgaria. In 1924, some of these IMRO leaders, the Bulgarian Communist Party and Federalists of the IMRO, produced the May Manifesto, a proclamation calling for an autonomous Macedonia. Other IMRO leaders saw this declaration as a betrayal for abandoning the incorporation into a greater Bulgaria. As a result, a bloody feud ensued that led to the assassination of the head of the IMRO. Soon after, Bulgarian nationalist Ivan Mikhailov took over and purged the organization of those who espoused Macedonian nationalism and autonomy. In 1925, Dimitar Vlachov, one of the few prominent surviving members of the Federalist faction of the IMRO, formed the IMRO United and affiliated it with the Communist International. The IMRO United did not garner much support, and by 1936 it disbanded, with some members going to the Bulgarian, Yugoslavian, and Greece Communist parties. The legacy of the IMRO United was that it represented the first organization to propose a separate Macedonian identity, independent from Serbia and Bulgarian aspirations in the region. In 1936, the IMRO United came under the auspices of the Communist Party of Yugoslavia when the Communist International dissolved. This move presented a new challenge for Bulgarian hegemony on the Macedonia question. The Soviet Union continued to support the Communist Party of Yugoslavia in an attempt to start revolutionary movements against the Balkan monarchies. Moscow also promoted notions of a greater Macedonia to the prize of the loyal communist parties of the Balkan. This was exemplified in the 1930s when Stalin was the first to proclaim Macedonians as a distinct nationality, and the Balkan Communist Federation issued recognition, including the KKE delegation. They believed that it was in their best interest to defeat the Greek and Bulgarian bourgeoisie at the time. So, the Axis occupation during the Second World War transformed the relationship between the communist parties in Yugoslavia, Bulgaria, and Greece. The Communist Party of Yugoslavia sought to exploit the Axis occupations as a means to obtain political and ideological dominance in the Macedonian question. While support by